It's Rut and River.
Yes.
Correct.
R-U-T.
I rest my beard hair on it.
And then you know you're there.
Like a nice, gentle little pillow for my beard.
Right.
And then I'm all up in it.
Oh.
I'm like Kobe beef for sharks.
Can I ask you, what made you guys call me up about, well, this?
That's what tickles our fancy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thought the Rocky Mountains would be rockier.
John Denver is not accurate.
Man.
A guy like you, who has absolutely no clue, and I can hear it in your voice, that, I mean, you're a blank canvas. I mean, I can just start with you like from scratch.
You're going to tell me, a grown man, you're telling me what lure to use and how to fish?
You guys didn't snap your whopper plopper off either, though. Sorry, I blew up over that.
And we are back. You are listening to the Rut and River Pursuit podcast. We're sitting around a Sonic Campfire tonight.
Ooh,
that was
lit.
a good one. It is on fire. Hey, I'm Ryan. Who do I got with me tonight?
This is Dave.
And I'm Will.
Boys. You know
We're
what?
shallow tonight.
That's all right. You know what I like to say?
What's that?
This is Reality Outdoor Radio, where our mission is to get you in the outdoors by connecting you with the people, skills, and products you can trust.
You can trust them.
Mm-hmm. We're getting at it tonight. I promise you this is going to be a good one.
What did you do?
Hold on a second, because before we do that, Stevie, why don't you tell me a little bit about this month's sponsor?
I'll tell you about this month's sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
This month's sponsor is Quest Hunt Co. The guys over at Quest Hunt Co. have developed the biggest and baddest white-tailed deer tournament the hunting community has ever seen.
Ooh.
This tournament's currently in 7 states, and it's now coming to Pennsylvania.
I love the Pennsylvanias.
For whitetail hunters all across the state, here's how it works. Get yourself a partner. We set this up for 2-person teams.
Got them.
Once you're signed up, you'll be competing with everyone in your state. Your team is scored on the total gross inches of your 2 best combined bucks.
Nice.
The top 10 teams per state will receive prize packages totaling an excess of $50,000.
Me and Deke are splitting a bunch of that.
Mm-hmm. The tournament culminates with a postseason banquet where all prize-winning deer are officially scored.
Right.
And if that's not enough,
Go on.
amazing discounts from vendors across the board
Nice.
just for signing up and monthly giveaways.
Get out of town.
It's incredible. Sign up for this epic tournament. Get all the details by checking out questhuntco.com. That's questhuntco.com. Tell them Rut and River Pursuit sent you.
Ooh, love me that Quest Hunt Co. stuff.
Yeah, buddy.
Too bad Deke and I are going to win the whole state of Pennsylvania.
You know
doubt
it.
Sorry for you boys. Speaking of winning the whole state of Pennsylvania, you know what the best way to win a man's heart is, they say?
What's that?
Through his stomach, bud.
Oh, that way.
Truth.
Uh-huh. And what are Deke and I going to be doing after we lay the smackdown on a couple of big old PA bruisers?
Keto.
After we do our keto? I don't even know what keto is, but is that some
It's
kind
a
of
diet.
karate in the
Paleo.
garage?
It's karate in the garage.
I'm a black belt in the ketos. No, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking our wild game and we're going to cook it.
Nice.
At the
And-
next level, though.
And you know what we're going to do? We're going to take it to that next level. So I was like, oh, boy, what could I do to take it to the next level? Maybe I could get some help over here on the Instagram. And you know what I searched?
What?
I searched wild game cook. And guess what? I found him. He's on the line. Folks, we got Mr. John Wallace with us here tonight, the wild game cook from Instagram. John, you there?
Hey, guys. How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Oh,
John, what's
our
happening?
absolute pleasure, bud. How are you?
Doing well. I'm anxiously waiting for this warm weather to pass and looking forward to getting in a tree somewhere.
You ain't kidding.
That's exactly right. I mean, we got another out of nowhere hot spell, I think, to hit us.
Ain't cool. That's for sure.
It sure ain't
Literally.
cool. We talked recently with some folks in Texas, but it felt like that's where we were today.
Yeah.
So, John, if you could, where are you calling from that you know about the heat we're dealing with right now?
Yep. I'm in western Ohio near Dayton. I actually just moved back home after being out in Missouri for the last 6 years, the plentiful state of Missouri. So I'm in Ohio. I think it's pushing 90 today.
So you went from Missouri back to Ohio. Boy, it's a tough life.
Bless your heart.
I got a wife that I'm sacrificing for. So I've got a lifetime hunting and fishing permit, and so do my kids from Missouri. So we will. It's a short 7-hour trip.
Really? It's only 7 from there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Goodness.
It's a long way to Ohio from us, though, bud.
Yeah, I guess
to Western Ohio for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
we can do Missouri in 14, so he's about halfway.
Gotcha.
We'll see you in about 8.5 hours.
Yeah, so we'll just stop there, refuel, get some shut-eye.
No, John, we did find you as we were scrolling through the Instagram, though, and the stuff you've got on display out there is, I mean, it's out of this world.
It's mouth-watering.
You're just showing off.
I enjoy it.
Oh, that's pretty obvious. That comes across pretty plainly. Can you give folks a quick background, though? Like, what you're doing on your Instagram channel is what?
How long did you live in France?
Yeah, I wish.
As a master chef.
How long did I sit in front of the couch and watch Bobby Flay? I created that page probably about 6 years ago, and it was basically to showcase wild game cooking because, on Facebook, a lot of times they don't care what you have for lunch or dinner or breakfast or whatnot. But Instagram came around, and I just try to inspire people to do more with their wild game. It really started out as, there's other things to do than just wrapping it in bacon, marinating it for 6 days in Worcestershire or whatever. So I just started experimenting.
Have you been in my freezer? It's like you just described my entire
your childhood.
My entire childhood. But that's my refrigerator come November, December timeframe.
I love bacon wrapped anything. It's just after a while, it's like you're looking for something else, and if you're successful hunters, and I'm sure we all are, you've got plenty of wild game, so you're trying to find something different. And that's kind of what it really comes down to. I'd like to think I cook a lot of very approachable, like just common dishes you're going to eat at your house. I just use wild game for it. And every once in a while I'll get inspiration from, those I draw inspiration from the cookbooks I've got from, Hank Shaw, Steve Ranella, and Christy Crabtree out there in Nevada. And I'll do something different. Man, it's really nice. But just trying to expand people's everyday, like their comfort zone, just expand their comfort zone. So it's not just tacos every time, or it's not just burgers or, that kind of stuff. So it's just pretty basic, approachable stuff. And I know a lot of people give me comments on that, or compliments that it's, something that they could easily do at the house.
And I think approachable is probably a key word for us there, because I know I've tried to expand my horizons, my culinary skills here a little bit here and there. Like
carrots.
I put it in some grilled cheese, bud.
You put cheese on it?
Put some cheese on it. No, but let me clarify that and say I've intended to expand those horizons.
Gotcha.
But I've always felt a little intimidated, right? A little overwhelmed by
Same
the idea.
here.
And then Will over here sitting next to me is throwing out words like sous vide. His wife is an unbelievable chef. The stuff she could do with black bear is crazy. But for me, what I end up doing is busting out the burger from the freezer, pattying it up, and making some burgers on the grill, or browning it up and making some tacos, just like you said. So what would be your recommendation for somebody maybe sitting on a couple pounds of ground venison in the freezer right now? What would be your go-to recipe to recommend for them as they're finishing up?
Have ground venison.
Well, I don't. I was saying hypothetically.
Oh, good, yeah.
You only got a couple packs left. What's going to be the go-to recipe, John? What should they do with that last couple packs?
Man, so I will be fully honest with you. So, I mean, I reference that tacos are, a staple and pretty common, but they are without question my favorite meal. I mean, I'd put it up there.
Yeah, who doesn't like tacos?
Yeah, with anything. I love it. I just had them last night, I believe. But, something, just even a variation of tacos, and it's nothing that much harder, but, switch it up and do enchiladas. And, it's a different dish, but it is like comfort food. I do a lot of comfort food as well. Depending on the time of year, it gets a lot more heavy, but Salisbury steak is a fairly easy one. And I'll be honest, if I'm not using my cookbooks, and it's not as often as I would like my wild game cookbooks when I reference that, but a quick Google search and you find a picture you like, and go for it. And a lot of times those types of ingredients are, there's not a long ingredients list. That's one thing I kind of pride myself on too, is I don't need to go to a specialty store to find the ingredients I need. I just need some onions and some garlic and some seasoning and, veggies and call it a day most times.
Sure.
But right off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, again, outside of burgers and tacos right offhand. But spaghetti, like we had spaghetti tonight. And one way that we spice it up, so it's a meat sauce, but we saute mushrooms and onions. We put it in a separate skillet because the kids don't care for it. But it could be pretty gourmet. So you've got mushroom chunks in there from the garden or wherever it is you're getting them from, and fresh tomatoes, and just take it to the next level rather than just have a simple meat sauce. And that's become one of my favorite dishes as well. I didn't like it as a kid, but
do you do any foraging? I mean, it's like I know that there's
Morels
some people that
what I was thinking,
specialize in,
Sure. I know enough to kill myself, pick the wrong thing. But I know what a morel looks like. I know what chanterelles look like. I have picked a few oyster mushrooms. I don't pick a lot of green stuff, just because, again, I just don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
I do like to find mushrooms, dryad saddles or pheasant backs, they call them. If I'm pretty confident, I'll totally pick a mushroom if it's fresh and tender. And I'm wide open to learning more about that kind of stuff. Or if someone gives me something, I'll utilize it. I just bought a new house, and I'm looking forward to having a garden for the first time, probably in 6 or 8 years. So I'll have my own tomatoes and onions and
very
who
cool.
knows.
Nice.
So I'm very much forward looking to that.
Yeah, there's nothing better than going to your backyard and picking some ingredients to match with the wild game you harvest.
There's one thing better. It's going to Deke's backyard and picking his vegetables.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of just, if you start scrolling down his Instagram, and it is literally very simple. It's Wild Game Cook. And what if you guys want to go there right now, we'll pause the whole thing.
Yeah.
And let you get to it. But
all right, glad you're back.
I'm glad. But if you can't get inspiration from your Instagram, I don't know what, you do a really nice job with that. How do you set up your pictures and things like that? Is it painstaking, or are you just snapping pictures as you go?
So yes and yes. So it started out way back when, this journey of 6 years of doing this, like I would take a picture with the darkest background, and it wasn't very appealing, but it's all I had. And believe it or not, I was actually gifted like a light set from a fellow person I followed. They gave me a light set. And
did he send it to you? And he was like, "I really like your pictures, but I want to be able to see them. So here's this light set.
Just take it, please."
They were very polite, but it was basically
awesome.
like, man, you could really go to the next level if you had some lighting, And so
that's cool. That's good encouragement too. That's great.
Yeah. My wife doesn't like a lot of clutter around the house. I'm sure most of you can relate, but I keep like this light behind the table, and it's nothing fancy. There's supposed to be like an umbrella for it. I don't even use it, but I just try to add some light at times. Natural light is definitely the best, but typically when we're eating dinner, it's dark out. But I just have that one light, and I've gotten pretty decent at it now, where I've got an Android and I've got this food filter, and it just kind of brightens up the dish so it looks more like what it looks like in real life versus the picture taking the color out of it. But I try to just keep it exactly how it looks. The only filter I use is I just scroll over to where it says food, and it's like it does the camera does things naturally.
That must be why Stevie loves the Android so much.
Yeah.
It's his food filter.
Yeah, if you go to your picture camera or whatever, and you just scroll over from like photo to video to hyperfocus, if you keep going, there's one that says food.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised if you take a regular photo and use that, how much more appealing it looks. It's pretty wild. But I've gotten better. I'll be honest, there's a lot of dishes that I just can't post because they either don't look appealing or I can't get the darn photo to look right. But typically I eat a lot of the same stuff. Like if I posted as often as I make tacos, like I think I'd probably have no followers. I love tacos, but like we eat them all the time because it's so simple. And the way we diversify it is the toppings we have, so you can have just cheese and lettuce and tomatoes, but we'll do a pico de gallo, or we'll make fresh guacamole, or just add some different toppings, and it's like a whole new meal, or again, we'll make nachos instead of tacos.
Yeah. Soft versus crunchy is about as crazy as it gets here.
Or scoops.
Scoops.
There you go.
One thing I notice when I'm scrolling is the diversity of wild game that you have. I mean, you're definitely getting out and and getting after it in the field. I mean, ducks, venison, different fish. Did I see a paddlefish in there?
Oh yeah.
I mean, just and paddlefish tacos.
Trout tacos.
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of stuff. So, like, where does that passion from the outdoors come from?
Yeah, so I grew up, I didn't hunt at an early age. I probably started hunting around age 12. My uncles would take me out squirrel hunting, small game hunting, led into deer hunting. I didn't start wing shooting until I was probably 23, 24.
Is it state dependent? Where are you when you're younger? And then when did you move to Missouri?
Yep. So I was in Ohio doing all this hunting in the original time. So I moved to Missouri when I was 30. So I'm 36 now. And so from 12 to 30, I hunted in Ohio. And, life was good. I was a deer hunter, small game hunter. There's not a lot of wild pheasant and quail opportunities in Ohio. I got into waterfowl hunting, but again, the waterfowl hunting compared to other states isn't the best in Ohio.
Football's out for you.
Yeah. My Browns got hammered the other day, but they're on Monday night.
We're also just in Penn State country, so I don't think there's a...
What are you talking about?
Is it a high school team?
I like
back to the task at hand. So I've got, you'll see on my Instagram too, I've got my 2 young boys, and I got a daughter as well. We're bringing up in the outdoors, but I'm a big believer in small game, starting out with small game and building a fire in your belly for hunting.
Absolutely.
And, we do everything in Missouri the last 6 years. So that's been a large majority of their outdoor life. We've done everything from frog gigging to dove hunting, squirrel, rabbit, ducks, geese, pheasant, quail, deer, turkey. If it's in season, like I don't get out, I'm not dedicated towards one specific thing. I really love turkey hunting in the spring. I really love a good duck hunt, and I love a deer hunt, obviously, but I love all the aspects of everything. And I think my boys do too. And so I've got a little bit of everything in the freezer, which is nice because it gives you that diversity.
I kind of wish you lived closer, John. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, me too.
To take you out.
No, just
tag along.
Just to hang out with
Just to hang out. It's not unlike us,
No, it's very much
Cut from
the
the
way a
same
lot
cloth.
of us grew up. I like to think of squirrel as the gateway game.
Yeah.
Yeah. It opens up a world of opportunities for folks if they get into the outdoors in the squirrel hunting world.
Yeah, with squirrel hunting with 22 specifically, it can teach you a lot that will ultimately easily transfer over to big game hunting. So, aim small, miss small, being stealthy in the woods, keeping a keen eye for just the slightest movement, that kind of stuff, developing patience. There's a lot of stuff that can come from small game. And I know there's a lot of parents out there that want to get their 6-year-old to kill a big buck or something. I don't think they can comprehend what that really means. I've only shot 4 antlered deer my whole life. And I finally shot a real nice one here in December that I'm going to put on the wall for the first time. I think it was like 130 class or something, but it was a trophy to me.
Nice.
But big fat doe walks out. She's getting it, It's just the fact of the matter. So my boys, actually, my oldest is 10. We're going to travel back to Missouri this year. I'm really hoping to get him his first deer. And so I'm really looking forward to that. He went turkey hunting this spring. That's another component of my Instagram page is trying to motivate or encourage, inspire parents to get their kids outdoors. There's a lot of kids, obviously, that don't have that aspect of life, and they're stuck behind their electronics and stuff. So if you see that kind of stuff, that's another kind of thing that I put on there. And I think people enjoy seeing, bringing kids up outdoors.
Yeah. Absolutely. And when it comes to the difference between, wanting to raise your kids in the outdoors and taking them deer hunting versus taking them small game, like the volume as far as squirrel hunting goes, like all of those lessons learned that you talked about, the ability for the kids to use your iron sights, or if you've got a scope on the 22, getting that idea of sight picture with an animal in there and watching the animal move through the scope, like there's very little opportunity for that during a deer hunt. But you go small game hunting, you get repetition.
Mm-hmm.
It's key.
You mean you're not going to get like a Boone and Crockett squirrel this year?
Oh, you might.
I shot one with a 14-inch tail once, man. I had it measured.
Whoa. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm just kidding. But it's the same with fishing. Like I grew up, I don't even know the last time I bass fished. I've been bluegill fishing for the last 8 years with these boys, and it's the same principle. We can get into bluegills all day long. It doesn't matter the size of them. Now they can appreciate a good one, but getting them fired up about it, you don't want to take them on a muskie fishing trip to Canada where they're going to get one every 1,000 casts. They're not going to see the fun in that.
Now, I know exactly where you're coming from. I have a young daughter, and we just started later in the last 2 months on the bluegill, and it inspired me too. I mean, like, I'm just used to bass fishing lately and some trout fishing, and I forgot.
You're just changing up to that Fisher Price rod, bud.
I'm loving that Moana rod, but the bluegills, there's nothing to, as a sportsman, to like scoff at when you're just slamming some awesome bluegills.
Yep. But the something to think about is what really took me to the next level. So I started my Instagram page the fall of 2013 in the deer woods. That's when I got exposed to the old Instagrams. And that season before 2012, which was my last season in Ohio, I finally decided I was tired of paying $120 or so to get my deer processed because, money's tight, around my house. I don't have a huge budget to go hunting, and, $120 is $120.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I made an investment. I think it cost about $580, and I bought a stainless table. I think it's like 2x8, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe a 2x6. And then I bought bulk vac sealer bags. I bought some meat tubs, to put the meat in as I'm processing. The leg spreader, sharp knives, like an outdoor edge knife set. And out of that $580, like 220 of it or something was the table.
The table, sure.
And, I probably could have waited around and got something used or from some sort of auction, but I was still using most of that original stuff up until just most recently. So I got a ton of value out of that, and all of it paid itself off within like 2 seasons. I typically shoot 1 or 2 deer a year back then. And then I went to Missouri, and, there was wild game everywhere.
Sure.
But, processing my own game, it was a learning experience. I remember that first year, I thought I butchered the heck out of the deer with my buddy. I shot it on his place. He's like, hey, let's go give it a shot. I took the first deer I shot off his place, which I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it was a fawn, because I think it was the sister to the button buck I ended up shooting. And I remember they were
it's just tender, bud.
The small ones are harder to hit.
In Ohio, grain-fed, boy, I'm telling you, they each field dressed at 105.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, not bad at all.
I take the dough to the processor, and I just get it simply done, right? Ground meat, as many steaks as you can, and the rest into roast. No specialty products. It's like $120, and I got 37 pounds of meat back. And I shot the button buck a few weeks later, and I'm just about confident they were the same size. And I did it myself, and I probably butchered some things. I don't even think I got between the ribs, and I still got 45 pounds of meat myself, right? So,
yep.
And
you know what went to the ground meat and what you went to steaks. Like you got to pick what, nice cuts, not anything. I mean, you're very selective when you butcher yourself.
Even your first time, you're still going to have a big difference over
and I tell guys,
processor.
like you're saying, at $120 for a processor, you can buy a very decent quality meat grinder for that much, and you're good to go.
Yep.
I mean, if the first year you just want to use,
I'd spend a little bit more.
You can, but I mean, on sale, Cabela's, any of the big box stores, you can find a good one that'll last you 5 seasons plus, and you can just use the meat packing paper. You don't have to the first year. Each year you can buy something else.
So for me, that's another one of those things I bought that first year, and my dad had success with a grinder, and believe it or not, he bought it from Northern Tool.
Nice.
And it was an off brand, and it was on sale for $99, and it got me through the latter half of the 2012 season, all the way up until last year. And now it's struggled. It wasn't something you just put meat in and it comes out like butter on the other end. But because I was on a budget, it got the job done. Now I did just upgrade to a bigger, bulkier one, which I've already tested out on some duck breast and whatnot. And man, it just shoots right through there. So I'm really looking forward to.
Was that from Northern Tool?
It was not. It was from LEM, which is an Ohio-based company, LEM Products.
Yep.
Well, I've
Very
definitely
good
heard
products.
of LEM, but I did not know they were from Ohio.
Yep. So when you pick up the box, like just the sheer weight of it, it's built well. And my other one, it did the job. I sold it to a buddy of mine for $40, and I thought, I got my use out of it. I think he's getting a great deal for $40. And I told him, I said, hey, this is for the guy or the gal who's shooting one deer, maybe 2 a year, and don't be in a hurry, because it's gonna get warm on you, so you're gonna have to shut it down and take your time. But for that point though of processing your own game, what really took it to the next level for me is, one, when you shoot the animal, process the animal, cook the animal, it's gonna taste better to you than anyone else at the table.
Definitely.
And then because you've put all that time, how much time you spent in the woods. I'll be honest, I'm very anal retentive as it relates to different things as far as the stuff being clean and the connective tissue and all that. So it takes when I shoot a deer, it's kind of like, oh crap. It's like packing out an elk. Like I've got a lot of work to do now.
The work starts once you drop one. Yep.
So when you pull it out of the freezer, you just don't want to, have an unseasoned burger patty on the grill. Like, man, what can I do to get the most out of this precious meat? I think you had maybe referenced that earlier.
Right.
There's a lot of work that goes into it. And if you're not as plentiful in the wild game, and if you get one deer, you're lucky, then you want to get the most out of it. So I started looking into these, different websites like Hunter, Angler, Gardener, Cook was the first one I came across, which was Hank Shaw. Of course, Steve Ranella is up there as well. And you start seeing what they're doing. I remember not grinding my shanks for the first time and leaving those whole. And that allowed me to take those roast and turn them more into steaks, or take the roast and grind them up so you've got a better quality grind. And, it's just little simple stuff like that I learned along the way that really gave me more options. A lot of times when I would process my game, I would take a Sharpie and I would write on the meat what my intention was.
Yes.
If it was kebabs, or if it was like, I'm finally going to do pastrami this year. That was like 4 years ago. I think I finally did pastrami like 2 years ago. Like, just because you put it on there, if you don't follow through with it, that's fine. But,
right.
Eventually if you just stay with it, you're like, I'm going to do it this year. I'm going to make pastrami or corned beef.
Yeah.
Like I made corned beef this year for the first time for St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, wow.
Really?
It's like, why haven't I ever done this before,
That's funny you say it. For 2 years in a row, I've had I saved a whole hind quarter and froze it as one because I wanted to put it on a smoker as one hind quarter. And do a nice slow. But 2 years in a row, I've, I have no more ground meat, and so I thaw that out and then grind that whole hind quarter. I just haven't gotten to it. So I don't feel so bad that it took you a couple years, to get the pastrami,
What's stopping you from smoking it? Do you not have a quality smoker? Are you not competent as a smoker? Like,
now
I think it's competence.
It's competence.
I would agree.
Because now, no, I mean, you guys are complete. Now I do have the smoker where I feel confident in it, but it's still, it's such a precious piece of meat because, I'm the one, like you said, you take all that time and you take all that care and you don't want to just use it willy-nilly on a Tuesday night. That's like for me now, the wild game that I have, I want to use those on a special occasion.
Well, I don't know who Neely is, but I'm not bringing Willie over. That's for sure.
So what I found is there's definitely groups and pages out there for guidance. Because I'm no one special. I try to find something that I want to do, and then I ask people. So there's a Facebook group called it's called Hunt Gather Cook. I think there's like 12,000 people in it. It's pretty much nothing but wild game cooking and foraging. There's another one out there from Field to Plate.
Okay.
Or I'll just go on to other pages. Like a lot of the pages I follow are wild game oriented.
Nice.
And some of the people who I've seen post a whole smoked quarter, I'll private message them or comment on the post like, hey, what temperature for how long did you brine it? Because brining, oftentimes there's a place for it and sometimes they're not. But sometimes brining can be like all the difference. But if you don't educate yourself on how to do it, you're always going to just have it in the freezer. That's what. Finally, I saw a post that I liked for corned venison for St. Patrick's Day, and I said, I'm doing it. I'm just doing it. And it's simple ingredients too. It's like pickling spice and like some other stuff like pink salt. And I bought enough pink salt to last me my lifetime. I went to Amazon. I bought 2 pounds of it, and I think most times you're using like a quarter teaspoon for like 8 pounds.
Now,
if you need it.
We're in a similar camp. I if anybody needs some kind of something, just hit us up. We're that neighbor. You can absolutely knock on our door and we're going to have it. So
My point is, I've had a whole front shoulder before. I've never sacrificed a whole rear quarter, but I have had a whole front shoulder.
That's not a terrible way to start. You know what I mean?
A front shoulder,
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
If you got a good front shoulder, first of all.
Yeah, that's
archery.
So I've went back and forth with shot placement for a long time, trying not to waste meat.
Headshots.
I've never had the confidence.
Right.
I've never had the confidence to pull off the headshot. I've always said I was going to do it, but I would get so far behind that shoulder, not that far, but if you get like 2 inches back, you're in the liver, and you're not getting the blood trail. And I got burned on that a couple times. So now I'm really trying to hug that shoulder really tight. Cause I try not to waste meat. I know there's guys out there that they won't even entertain keeping the front shoulder. And I don't even know if that's legal in some states, but there's so much quality meat on those shoulders. And even if you just grind it, but I've moved to the smoker world. I've got a Camp Chef smoker, and it's a pellet smoker. It's been a game changer for me. The flavor, I've always been a propane guy. Like I've had propane since the year I got married in 2006 until just this winter.
Like Hank Hill.
Propane and propane accessories.
I cook on propane. So now that I've got that, and I'll admit, like, not every recipe I make is mouthwatering. Not every recipe is edible. I remember I tried to cook mallard legs one time and just make them the most tender, decadent thing you've ever eaten, and they were as hard as a rock. I sucked off the marinade and the barbecue sauce I put on them, and they went in the trash. They were really unedible. So it's not like I'm invincible. Like things happen, but you don't get to those different comfort zones, or you don't learn unless you fail. And you hate to fail because you don't want to waste that meat. But if you don't take a little risk, you're going to be eating meatloaf and tacos and spaghetti. And I love all those. But man, when I have steak Diane from Hank Shaw, or this country fried steak recipe that I kind of figured out, the smothered venison, like it's so good, you know. And, I got friends always asking me for like goose pastrami, like, hey, did you bring any goose pastrami over today? I'm like, no, I didn't. Take me out in one of your little goose spots, and then I'll make you something, you know?
Sure. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you about when you brought up about being very purposeful about when you're processing the meat and you're putting it in a bag and you're writing the recipe down. We got onto that last year when we took the Jeremiah Dowdy from Field to Plate class in Texas. And that's what we did. We literally pulled meat off of the deer and put it in a bag, and then he gave us 4 to 5 recipes that meat is good for.
Yeah. Nice.
And my wife was like just crazy, writing down recipes and all kinds of things, getting notes, and it was really crazy. And so being mindful like that, it changes your whole game. Like you said, you've always wanted to try something, or you never were confident in your skills. When you start to understand what each piece of meat is good for and things like that, it's next level. So I'm just I just when I talk to Jeremiah Dowdy and Reload Rub,
buddy Joel,
Joel Licklider. I mean, the guys are crazy. The cooking and the pictures, and I'm just in
you guys
awe.
all make it approachable.
Yeah,
and I wanted.
All three of us, I think, do. We all started about the same time, believe it or not, and pretty good friends. I'll be honest, like I'll write both of those guys and say, hey, what temp or how long?
Yeah.
Or there's other people, what temp, how long? And because people ask me too, I'm very bad about writing down recipes because that's just not how I function. But people write me all the time, and I try to give them what it is I did. I just kind of go by feel a lot.
Yeah.
But feel free to reach out to someone. If you see a post that looks great, ask them, and if they don't write you back, then, try again or something. But someone's out there doing it. And, like I said, the hashtags I follow a lot are wild game cooking, venison. You can find something you're looking for. And then if they don't post a recipe, just ask, because chances are someone else will say, hey, I need to know that too. And then save it to your little collection there. Because I always save stuff for inspiration. I'll go back through and say, what can I try different today? Because the end of the season, not end of the season, but basically right before season starts, a lot of people are trying to clear out space and look to get rid of some meat. And, there's just different ways that you can try do things to,
I look at your pictures like yours, and I'm like, I need that in my life.
Yeah.
You know
You
what I
ain't
mean?
kidding.
And so, that is something that I've honestly taken on this year. We're doing different things. We did the bear roast beef.
Yep.
And there's a whole different
deep fried a pheasant.
We deep fried a pheasant.
We sure did.
So speaking of like new recipes, what is like something like the pastrami or corned beef? What is on the table this year for the 2019 season? When you get that monster buck in the butcher room, what are you gonna like? What's the goal piece? What are you gonna write on that vacuum seal of you need to accomplish this?
Yep. So it's probably without question going to be sausages like brats and such. I've never done it. It's always been intimidating, and
that LEM is really going to open some doors.
Yeah, I think.
So I purchased their sausage stuffer as well.
Nice.
Again, because you're not going to make brats if you don't have the equipment,
Right.
And so I finally bought it, and I'm sure some of them are going to bust through the casings. I'm sure some of them are going to look weird. They may even taste funny, but you're not gonna do it. I did summer sausage a couple seasons ago, and it turned out pretty darn good, to be honest, for the first time. It's a lot of work, and I'm sure making brats and sausages is going to be a lot of work, but that's what I'm looking to add to my
What are you going
resume.
to use for casings?
They have like a package.
You're
set.
going to use the LEM package?
I bought like the sausage making 101 package. I think it's got natural ones, collagen ones,
Okay.
all that kind of stuff.
I know their seasonings for the breakfast sausage and the Italian sausage are awesome. I've done those, but I just made them into 1 pound packages and never stuffed them.
Yeah.
I've done that too. I did that a couple of years ago, and that's what I made my summer sausage out of, was that LEM Backwoods from Bass Pro Shops.
Oh, yeah.
It's a classic summer sausage, and it was legit. And I did both Canada Goose. I did a batch of Canada Goose summer sausage, and I did elk. And quite frankly, they were both delicious.
Nice.
So that's what I'm working on as far as expanding. I do have a new recipe that I've made the dish. I've got the picture ready to post, and I just can't get myself to sit down for 30 minutes to write this recipe down. But it is called an HLT. So instead of a BLT, it is hearts, livers, and tenders of your water.
Get out of town.
So when I process my waterfowl, I take the tender off so that the meat cooks more evenly.
Right.
And then I always try to save the hearts and the livers of all my birds as well. And then I package those together and I freeze them. And because I was trying to find a way to make a dish that would utilize those three things. So I take them out. I basically mince them all up as fine as I can. And the liver acts as a binder and makes it into a patty. And then I dredge that in flour, and then I fry it like country fried steak real thin.
Huh.
And then load it with like a sriracha mayo with plenty of white onion, tomato, and lettuce, and make like little sliders out of the hearts, livers, and tenders. And I will tell you, it's coming. I got to write it down. You guys may be the motivation that gets me to put it out there now that I've put it out there.
Yeah, HLT sliders.
A lot of people are going to hear that and just be hitting you up constantly now.
Can we give you a challenge piece though?
I need the time and temp.
Sure.
Sorry.
Time and temps on your hearts and tenders.
Can we give you a challenge piece?
Sure.
So I don't know. This is a big thing in our area, and I'm not sure if it's all the way to Western Ohio, but I know you have
whoopie pies.
Yeah, it's Amish.
Gobs.
Yeah, it is an Amish type thing, Pennsylvania Dutch thing. Scrapple. If you make venison scrapple and do a step by step, you'd be
king. Yeah,
you'd separate yourself from the rest of us.
So, I've never made scrapple. I know a little bit about it. I compared that thing I just described to you as kind of Scrapple-esque.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
really,
when you were talking about it.
You weren't
it's
thinking
really
that.
not, but it's generally speaking the similar process. But what I will say is I know there's already a very solid Scrapple recipe out there, which is Hank Shaw's. So if you go to honestfood.net, Hank, it gets he gets a lot of reviews on his Scrapple. He's always using wobbly bits. Quite frankly, him and Steve Ranella are why I keep my livers and my hearts. And I keep gizzards from time to time if I'm really in the mood, but that's a little bit more processing. That sometimes I'm in the mood, sometimes I'm not.
It's tough. That's a tough piece of.
You gotta have patience. I've learned that a long time ago. Like if you want good food, sometimes it does take a while. So like the shanks, 8 hours in a crock pot on low.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, venison barbacoa, which is another Hank Shaw recipe, if I have friends over for like a special taco night, we're making venison barbacoa.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Nice.
It's unbelievable. And then I did elk and deer tacos this last year for the first time. I don't know how I wasn't doing that before. Again, inspired by Steve Ranella. I mentioned some of the same names, but like they're the people who inspire me. And then I follow a lot of new people too who dabble in wild game cooking, and so I'm always looking to see what they do. And I'm like, you know what, that sounds good. I'm gonna try that. And because if not, you're just doing the same old thing. Like bacon dove poppers. I love a dove popper. I just made some ramaki the other day, which is basically bacon wrapped dove, but there's so many other things. I even have some recipes for that I'd love to share with you guys. I got one that's a dove stuffed mushroom. I've got a great marinade for just, making, if you're going to make like a dove ramaki, or even like I've got boneless chicken wings, but it's dove breasts. And, I know you mentioned Jeremiah, like he's got an unbelievable
Buffalo
deconstructed dove popper sub that is just amazing looking.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that. That's incredible.
Like that's how you can almost get new people out hunting too. Like, it tastes amazing. It's like, well, how do I get that? Well, you got to go out, you got to get hunter certified, get your license, and I'll take you out there, And
yeah, that's the thing. Where's the store at that I could pick that up?
Yeah,
I'll show you.
So like I said, we've done the classes, and we've had some. We have some friends that are very talented in the wild game space. These pictures aren't just for looks. Like the flavor.
Oh yeah.
And the profiles are just off the chart.
Instagram gets that smell-o-vision going, and it's going to be a whole new level for this guy.
It's too much.
It's unreal. Like one of my guilty pleasures is looking at, indulgent, or I don't know if that's the word, indulgent food, and like late at night, and whether it's wild game or chicken wings or whatever, and then I'm in the kitchen like 10:30 at night, working something up, and that's kind of where like that HLT recipe came from. Nice. I'm like, I'm gonna try to make something with this, and it like worked. It's a really simple, like almost like a deer camp recipe or a duck camp recipe. Like it's not super fancy. You could do it with salt and pepper. I did it with Cavender's Greek seasoning because I've always got that on hand. But
sure.
It's just a super simple recipe. You got to keep those bits. And as you know, most waterfowl hunters, they'll just breast out the bird and be done with it.
Right there. Yeah.
So keep the hearts, keep the livers, obviously the legs. If you're shooting hundreds of birds a year because you're that avid, then I can get maybe not, keeping all the legs, because what are you going to do with them? But I only shoot a couple dozen if I'm lucky. And I mean, that's on a good year, a couple dozen ducks. So I try to keep the legs. When I pluck the breast and then keep the skin and fat on, because it gives you more options. If you don't want the skin and fat, you can always tear it off later. But once you've just breasted it out, that's what you're stuck with, Yeah.
Sure.
Huh. You know what, John? I hate to do this, but I'm gonna have to actually try to get us to wrap this up quick, because I'm now starving.
Yes, sir.
I am hungry. Holy buckets. Oh man. Now, John, before we let you go, though, a couple things real quick. I need to get us into this part of the show that we call the Fast Five. So what we're going to do is hit you with 5 questions. We'll try to do it pretty quickly, so you just answer first thing that pops into your head. There are no wrong answers.
Well, we'll tell you if they're wrong.
Yeah, we'll let you know. That's for sure.
Gotcha.
So let's start it off here. Number 1, what are you most proud of?
Raising my kids in the outdoors.
Nice.
Perfect. Excellent.
Number 2, one thing you can't live without in the outdoors.
Man, I would say wild game, I guess.
There you go. That works.
Totally works.
Sustenance.
It works for me because I love following your Instagram. What's your favorite movie?
Super Troopers.
Nice.
That's a first for us.
Snosberries taste like snosberries.
You know what? I hate to do this, but I got to ask another question. Right meow.
Right meow?
I'm just going to do right meow. Sorry. Number 4 then. What's one thing you do every day to prepare for your outdoor lifestyle?
I would say probably, I'll be honest, just look at Instagram and find inspiration. I did just make a personal goal to try to do some exercise, and so I'm in better shape for the kids this fall. So maybe I'll start doing some exercising to get ready for maybe a more productive fall this year.
Very cool. Excellent. Number 5. You can fire this off and go in whatever direction you want, but what's on John Wallace's bucket list?
Oh, first thing that come to mind easily is a bull elk hunt. I was lucky enough to go hunt elk a couple years ago with my uncle. I only really could afford a cow tag.
Sure.
And, I wasn't successful, but I was successful in helping my uncle get on at an elk, a bull, and helped him process it and get it off the mountain. So a bull elk hunt, I'll be honest, I'm okay with a rifle first time, but I just think that would be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Just hearing a bugle.
Cool.
What do they call it? A 1,500-pound turkey? Bugling in your face?
Oh, my gosh. I couldn't imagine.
I can't either. Not for this PA boy.
That's good stuff. Well, John, I know you're a busy guy. You're running around with the boys here tonight, so we appreciate you giving us all this time here. If you could, one more time real quick, remind folks where they can follow you and check out everything you got going on, and, keep an eye on those recipes and see what's coming up in the future.
Sure, yeah. I'm on Instagram, Wild Game Cook, and I do have a Facebook page. I'm not as active on it, but you can reach out to me if you're not on Instagram and you want to private message me. I have a Facebook page called Wild Game Creations, so you can check me out on there as well.
Awesome, John. Thank you so
Very
much, man. This has been wonderful.
Yeah, looking forward to maybe another time in the future. There's a lot to get into yet.
Yeah, we
didn't even touch on desserts.
I mean, we only scratch the surface in these things. We will send you off before we end the show here, but thank you so much, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck this coming season. I hope the boys are able to connect on something too while you're out there with them.
Yeah, they're really tore up with it. My oldest last year shot his first dove, his duck. I got a squirrel last year and a pheasant. And then just here on the 2nd of September, he shot a dove. His first ever hunt in Ohio. So that was pretty cool.
Boom.
So I got to get my middle son out. He's pretty proficient as well. They're about the same size. He's 9, but they're about the same size. And we've got to get creative this year being in Ohio, especially Western Ohio. There's not a lot of opportunity over here for turkey, waterfowl. It's all pretty limited compared to what we've been used to the last 6 years. So we'll be going out to Missouri a couple times this fall.
That sounds like you guys are going to find it one way or another. I love it.
Yes. Oh, well, I'm going to make it happen. Yeah, because it's what's important to me is getting them out there.
Awesome.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it, bud.
We'll see you guys. Have a good one. Good luck this fall.
Thank you too,
Bye,
bud.
What a great guest, guys.
See that, boys?
Man.
What did I tell you?
I'm glad you did that.
Yes, you know it.
I'm hungry.
That's why I had to end it. It was like my belly's growling.
Ryan, I know we're hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you tell everybody about this month's sponsor so we can get on
Land this ship
and get to eating?
Mm-hmm. Here we go. This episode was also brought to you in part by Protection First Class Outdoors. PFC lubricants protect and lubricate your firearms, bows, tree stands, and everything else in your outdoor equipment inventory. Your equipment's protected and lubricated during the season, and the deer aren't going to smell you. Come on. You know you need to get some. Head on over and check out everything they've got going on over at pfcoutdoors.com. Oh, good stuff. Spray it down.
Do you need lube?
I'm telling you. So, Deekster.
Yeah, bud.
Where can folks find us?
You can find us by searching Rut and Rear Pursuit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Make sure you check us out on YouTube, Rut and Rear Pursuit Podcast. And listen to us weekly, Monday and Thursday, on all social media apps such as iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Guys, make sure you check us out on the website, brightandriverpursuit.com. Guys, another epic week. I'm hungry. Let's get moving.
Rig 'em roast beef.
Pastrami, see ya.
See you.
Do you do any foraging? I mean, it's like I know that there's some
Morels
people
was
that
what I was thinking, yeah.
specialize in,
Sure. I know enough to kill myself, pick the wrong thing. But I know what a morel looks like. I know what chanterelles look like. I have picked a few oyster mushrooms. What's stopping you from smoking it? Do you not have a quality smoker? Are you not competent as a smoker?
Now
I think it's competence.
It's competence.
I would agree.
Because now, no, I mean, you guys are complete. Now I do have the smoker where I feel confident in it.
And believe it or not, I was actually gifted a light set from a fellow person I followed. They gave me a light set. And
did he send it to you? And he was like, "I really like your pictures, but I want to be able to see them. So here's this light set.
Just take it, please."